So the first point would be your interior, how your apartment is going to look, how you set it up, what is included. Yes, it has to be attractive. However, being attractive also you also have to consider what type of materials, what type of things it is that you're putting in the apartment. Remember that because you're having a lot of traffic in and out, accidents happen. People could be eating. I mean, think it's at home. People are eating and they're eating on a couch. Food spills. Not everybody necessarily knows how to take care of those things immediately. And maybe by the time the cleaner is going to come the next morning, it has created a stain. You want fabrics, for example, on your chairs that could easily wipe off or could at least absorb in such a way that if the cleaner comes, then they can clean it out. If there are colors that are wild and bright and such stains will then become a challenge, you also have to be able to think of wear and tear for those ones in terms of how you're going to change them. Are you going to have chair covers? Are you going to have an upholstery guy that would reupholster the furniture from time to time? All of these things are things that you have to think about. Things that can break, things that can just add to the aesthetics. As much as possible, I try to suggest that you don't have too many little moving parts, because if you have dishonest guests and somebody by mistake just knocks something over and tosses it in the bin, you may not notice for a while, and then you'd be wondering at what point it got missing and stuff like that. So how you decorate your shortlet should be of high priority. You could talk to an interior decorator that is used to doing interiors for apartments or accommodation, public accommodation, lodging, that is very creative. Think of it like, what would you imagine that you are the person that you're trying to attract, and imagine what that person wants to be able to feel. The most important thing that people want to be able to feel is, yes, they're in a space that is pretty, the space that is welcoming, and a place that is attractive. So those are things that you must factor in with your furnishing. Think of furnishings that are easy to work through. For example, curtains. If your curtains are hard to open or to move aside and stuff like that, you might have instances where somebody is probably stepping on a piece and then maybe the whole thing is coming down, things like that. So that is on one part, the interior decorating. The next factor would be the check-in experience. So remember, when I talked about the interiors, you think about how people want to feel. This is the most important factor that you are going to have to look into, especially in Nigeria, because a lot of things don't work and it is a personal thing. You are targeting people who normally would go to a hotel where it's literally hand and foot experience, to people who are now coming, and these are the same people that are now coming to rent your shortlets because they say they're not getting the service the same quality of service, or they're not getting the same feel at a hotel. So you don't want to give them anything less. And the details are very simple. The first would be, what is it like when they want to check in? Is the property ready? If you tell them check-in is at 2, have your cleaners done everything possible to make it ready at 2. And if it's not going to be ready at 2, has that been communicated to the client? Do you have an interim space that you could put them in? Like, how it is when you go somewhere, or you just have like a holding room, an interim space, that they can stay whilst you're finishing with their apartment. The next would be, who even hands over the property to them? Do you just walk them into the property, they move their stuff into the property, and you say, yes, this is your apartment, okay, thank you, bye-bye, have a nice day? Who's going to show them how the shower works? Or are you presuming that they must know how a shower works? Remember, the different types of hardwares and things that you put in yours may differ from what they're used to. It's not always the same, cut and paste process for getting all of that out. They will fiddle if you're not there to show them. Things like the inventory, where basic things are, what the access routes are, is there a back door, things like that. These are things that whoever is going to check them in should be able to show them. Again, imagine in a hotel. The person who is showing them into the room would be there to put on the AC, put on the TV, show them where the switches for the heater and the what are. Give the same experience. Also, you want to consider accessibility to somebody who is on site. Because they're in an apartment, you're probably not going to have intercoms and front desk that they can call and all of them, but there has to be someone whom they can reach out to at almost any point, any point in the day, that would say, oh, we have this challenge. A facility, for example, think about if even just later in the day a tap should burst, and these things happen. They're things, they would get spoiled, they would get broken. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's the fault of the guest at that particular time, but wear and tear, and that then that also comes to the management of the facility. From time to time, you are going to have to check all of these things, and once they start wobbling, please don't manage, because that management could just cause for an accident. That would be. So think of someone having a shower and one of the knobs just comes loose or something, and then there's just that full burst of water. You know how water can just splash out at someone? If the person is not standing properly, maybe the person even has soap lathered all over their body and the person just slips from all of that. You don't want such a liability on your hands, because that's what it's going to become. It's going to become a liability. You now have a guest who has come, has fallen down, maybe even hit or hurt themselves or something. You don't want that liability, because word of mouth, remember. With shortlets, you want to be able to define who you want to serve before you even set up. Think of it like a business. When somebody's, say a consultant, for example, a consultant will know who it is that they want to consult for before they even start setting the kind of products that they have, or the pricing, or the services, or the bouquet, as the case may be. And you want to be able to do the same for your shortlet. The reason why this happens is because with doing that, it defines the type, it just defines the structure for all of the things that your shortlet is going to have. When you think about it like that, then you are better able to set your property investment in a way that is most befitting. For example, if your shortlet is going to be family friendly, and a lot of times when you're listing the property out, when you state things like that, people understand what type of place it is. If you talk family friendly, you talk youth friendly, you talk executive friendly, it categorizes what the things that they are expecting in the property would be. A family friendly unit would probably have a spare cot or a baby bed, or it would have adjoining rooms, or it would have a bathtub, or it would have his and her wardrobes, or it could have what else could happen? It could have a swimming pool, it could have its own extra balcony, or it could have storage and stuff like that. Things that a family would essentially need, because think, a family is coming on vacation. They are different than when a young couple who are either on their honeymoon, or a business person who just needs space or time or a place to stay in the city because they're here on a course. So those kind of things would work. A family friendly environment may not necessarily have a work area, but one for an executive or a business person might need to have like a work area that the person can go and plug into that is conducive. So all of these things would be things that you would think about. Yes, you want to be able to balance comfort, you want to be able to balance fun, you want to be able to balance relaxation, you want to be able to balance efficiency, but who are you providing these services for are things that you need to predefine. In all of these things are part of what would also come into play when you want to set your pricing, you want to be able to set your services, you want to be able to set the feel of the check-in experience. You know, you just want to be able to identify and define all of these things properly. And last but not least, we come to the question of price. Who are we kidding? Price budget is always going to be a factor. Like, that is going to be one of the things that everyone would think about when they want to think of where they're going to. They'll look at the location that it's at, they would look at what it offers, and then they're going to look at the price. So you want to be able to make your price as relative as possible to the functionalities, the services, the experience that you're giving. When all of these things tie in, people feel warmer. And where a lot of people seem to forget it in Lagos, I would say, because Lagos is where I've really experienced a lot of these things, and this is where we're talking about. I've gone to Shortlets in Cape Town, for example, and the experience was impeccable. Someone met us, someone checked us in, someone walked us through the property, someone showed us where details as little as washing soap, spices, basic spices were kept in the kitchen. He showed us where a laundry basket was. He told us best times to get the view, like to get the best views from the balcony. He told us the times. He told us, he gave us tips on how to enjoy our stay in the premises. But most importantly, he even had a welcome basket for us, because he understood who we were. We were going there as a family, and we just were going on vacation, and he had a welcome basket for us. How many people here in Nigeria think of things like that? These are small details that help you to stand apart. They help you to stand out, and they just make your customers feel happy. There's just a little buzz, and they're like, oh yes, this person was thoughtful. And these are the things that matter. When you stop treating your investment as the cold product that it can be, and you make it the warm tool, your business will pay you, will reward you much more than you can ever imagine. Yes, I understand the fact that as property owners, you can't be the one to manage all of these things. And this is where also your choice of personnel that are working with you and are interacting with your customers and your property, or managing your property, comes into play. But the bottom line is that you, as the owner, you have to set the outline. You have to be able to say, this is what I want my customers, my clients, my residents, my tenants to feel like. This is what I want them to experience. How they get interpreted to implement then becomes the responsibility of your manager. If you are someone that wants a hassle-free experience, then you would and should be looking to invest in a property that is largely for shortlets. And when you're doing that, you then want to walk through all of these details with them in terms of management. If some of the details that they have lack some of these things, you can ask for some of these things for yourself and say you want your apartment to do this. Because remember, if you have an apartment block of say 12 units and different people own the units, there is still the onus of whose apartment does what. Sometimes the terms and the repayments would be, what it is. Sometimes the occupancy for different units. And remember, clients can come back and say, I'm used to this unit, I want this unit. And if that unit is not available, then yes, maybe they'll choose another one there, or they'll go somewhere else. But if you have clients that like your unit, then just know that anytime they want to come there, they're going to ask for your unit. So that's the kind of experience that you want to be able to create. Now, you may ask and say, but Lerato, what I'm doing is property investment. Yes, it's property investment. You're doing property investment in a personal space. Homes are personal. How homes are built, how homes are set up, how homes are planned, how the environment is planned is all personal. These things all tie in. They do what we call force the appreciation for your property to grow. When that happens, people demand, request, inquire, want your asset much more. When that also happens, you can also much easier scale your investment to more numbers, such that you just keep replicating the same process with improvements across the different genres that you may want to look into. So when we're talking property investing, you're not thinking of it as just this one. You're thinking, how much money can I make? And it would start with the one. The one would give you the baseline, and then if you can replicate it into another one, then yes, you are sharing your resources to be able to keep replicating and making money across the board. Thus far, we've talked about shortlets. We've talked extensively about shortlets, how to set up your shortlet, what makes your how you can make your shortlet higher in demand, how you can make your shortlet the most preferred option for people that are looking out for it, and how to plan for your shortlet. And I'm hoping that if you're going to watch this, that it would actually help you when you are also thinking about an investment opportunity that will work for you. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, I think now would be a very good time to do so. So please hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell so that when the next video drops, you don't miss it just because you weren't notified. With the notification bell, you will get a notification sent to you directly so you know that the video is out.